The forest was quiet, too quiet, as if the world itself held its breath. Leora's boots sank into the snow with every step, leaving shallow prints that vanished beneath the drifting flakes. Her cloak, dark and threadbare, clung to her shoulders, shielding her from the biting wind. She had walked far that day, following rumors of a creature trapped deep in the woods, something unnatural, something that even the villagers feared. When she finally reached a small clearing, the sight took her breath away. There, tangled in thick silver chains, lay a massive white wolf. Its fur was so pure it almost seemed to glow in the dim winter light. The chains weren't ordinary iron. They shimmered faintly, etched with runes that pulsed like tiny hearts. The wolf's eyes were wide and golden, filled with a mixture of pain, fear, and something almost human. Leora knelt at the edge of the clearing, her breath forming clouds in the cold air. She could feel a strange pull toward the wolf, as though it was calling her, whispering to her soul. Her hands itched to reach out to free it, but something warned her. The forest had secrets, and magic in these woods rarely came without danger. The wolf growled softly, not a threat, but a plea. Its gaze locked with hers, and Leora felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew she could not leave it here to die. With trembling hands, she drew a small knife from her belt. The silver chains resisted her blade at first, humming with a cold energy that made her fingers tingle. She worked carefully, whispering words of encouragement to the creature. "Hold on, just a little longer." The chains began to yield, glowing brighter as each link fell away. The wolf's eyes softened, and a deep, resonant growl vibrated through the clearing. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook slightly. Leora stumbled back as the wolf's form began to change. Limbs stretched, fur receding, and in moments that felt both infinite and instantaneous, the beast was gone. In its place stood a man, tall, broad-shouldered, with hair as white as snow and eyes that glimmered like molten gold. His presence was terrifying and magnificent at once, radiating power Leora had never felt before. "You freed me," he said, his voice low and commanding, yet laced with pain. "Do you know what you've done?" Leora's hand still shook, her mind struggling to comprehend what she saw. I couldn't leave you there," she said quietly. "You were trapped. You needed help." The man studied her, his gaze intense. There was suspicion in it, a hint of something darker. He moved with the grace of a predator, yet there was a vulnerability to him that made her chest tighten. "Few humans would dare touch these chains," he said. "Even fewer would survive. Why?" "Because it was wrong," Leora replied, her voice firmer now. "And because I couldn't look away." He tilted his head slightly as if weighing her words. Then he lowered himself onto one knee before her, bowing his head with a strange reverence. "You have freed me from a prison older than you can imagine," he said. "But freedom comes at a cost." Leora's heart pounded. "What kind of cost?" The man straightened, his eyes narrowing. "The chains that bound me were not just silver and spellwork. They were curses placed by ancestors, by kings who feared the power I hold. Now that I am free, the weight of that power is no longer contained. It will reach for you, human, as it reaches for me." She took a cautious step closer. "Then I will face it with you. If danger follows, I won't run." A flicker of something almost like a smile crossed his features. "Brave or foolish," he said softly. He reached out a hand, and Leora felt a strange warmth ripple through her, a current of energy that seemed to hum in time with her heartbeat. "I am Kale," he said. "I was bound by these chains not merely as punishment, but as a warning. Now, I am yours to know, human, and perhaps you are mine." The wind howled through the trees, and snow swirled around them like dancing spirits. Leora shivered, but it was not from cold. There was something magnetic in Kale's presence, something that made her forget fear even as it whispered caution in her mind. "I don't understand. You can talk, you can shift. Are you some kind of spirit?" she asked. "I am a king," he said simply, his golden eyes holding hers, "alpha of a realm you cannot yet see. A curse was placed upon me and my bloodline. I have been hunted, trapped, and chained, and now I am free. Yet freedom alone does not make me safe, nor does it make you safe." Leora's hand drifted to the hilt of her knife. "Then I will learn," she said. "I will understand. I will help you." Kyle's gaze softened, just enough that she saw a flicker of the wolf that had been beneath his human form. "Few can offer such loyalty," he said. "Few can survive what follows." The forest around them seemed to pulse with dark energy, shadows stretching unnaturally as if watching them. A distant howl echoed through the trees, sending a chill down Leora's spine. She realized then that the wolf's warning had not been only for her. It had been for both of them. Cale stepped closer, his presence filling the clearing with an almost tangible heat. "The chains are gone, but the curse lingers," he said. "And those who set it will not rest until it is renewed, or until all who aided me are destroyed." Leora swallowed hard. "Then we start now. We fight together." He studied her eyes like molten gold burning with something she could not name. "Do you know what it means to be beside an Alpha King human?" he asked. "To bear the weight of a legacy that is older than kingdoms, older than crowns. To stand where angels and monsters alike have failed?" She did not flinch. "I may be human," she said, "but I am not weak." For the first time, a slow, deliberate smile crossed his face. "Perhaps there is hope." He paused, his eyes distant, reflecting some deep hidden sorrow. "But know this. Once the chains were broken, nothing will be the same again. Not the world, not me, not you." Leora's heart thudded. She could feel the pull of destiny, a thread connecting her to Cale that neither time nor distance could sever. "Then we face it together," she said again, this time more firmly. Cale's hand hovered near hers as if testing the truth of her words. Then he nodded. "Very well, human. You have chosen a path from which there is no return. You have cut silver chains from a dying wolf, and in doing so, you have bound yourself to an Alpha King." The wind rose higher, whipping snow into a frenzy around them. The forest seemed to lean closer, as if listening, waiting. Leora took a deep breath, feeling both fear and an unfamiliar thrill. She did not know what lay ahead, curses, enemies, perhaps death. But for the first time in years, she felt a spark of purpose, a sense that her life had meaning beyond wandering. Cale's golden eyes met hers, steady and unwavering. "Come," he said. "There is much to show you. Much you must understand, and perhaps if you are brave we might survive what is coming together." The clearing was silent once more, save for the whisper of wind and the faint hum of the broken chains, and somewhere deep in the forest a shadow moved, watching, waiting, for the human who had dared to free a king. As Leora followed Cale into the darkened woods, she could not shake the feeling that her life and her heart were about to change forever. And in the deepest part of her soul, she knew that once the chains were broken, nothing could ever go back to the way it had been. The journey to Cale's kingdom was unlike anything Leora had ever known. The forest gradually gave way to a strange twilight, a realm where snow never melted and shadows lingered like living things. Even the air seemed heavy, humming with a magic that made her skin tingle. Cale moved with effortless grace beside her, silent and watchful, his golden eyes scanning the surroundings as if nothing escaped his notice. "You must understand," Cale said finally, his voice breaking the quiet. "My kingdom is not a place for ordinary humans. Many who enter never leave, or they lose themselves to fear and despair." Leora glanced at him, feeling the weight of his words. "Then I will not be ordinary," she said softly, determination sharpening her voice. "I have faced the forest. I have freed you. I am not afraid." Cale studied her, and for a moment something unreadable flickered across his face. "Courage alone will not save you. You must learn patience, observation, and control your instincts." She nodded, though a small shiver ran through her. There was something about the way he spoke, a subtle warning that danger was always near. And yet she could not help but feel drawn to him, as if some invisible thread pulled her toward his side. The first glimpse of the kingdom came through, a narrow valley where towering walls of black stone rose into the sky, spiked with jagged battlements. A faint glow of torches lined the path, and the air carried the scent of smoke, pine, and something ancient, almost metallic. At the gates, guards clad in armor as dark as midnight watched them silently, their eyes unreadable. Cale did not introduce her. He simply walked through the gates, and the guards parted without a word, bowing their heads in acknowledgement of his authority. Inside, the castle was both magnificent and terrifying. Halls stretched far beyond her vision, adorned with murals of battles, victories, and beasts both real and imagined. Statues of kings and queens, all with stern, unforgiving faces, lined the corridors. Every step she took echoed against the cold stone floors, reminding her of how small she was in this world. Kale led her through the halls to a chamber that overlooked the kingdom below. The city was bathed in the faint light of a perpetual twilight, buildings carved from black stone and silver spires catching the dim glow. It was beautiful, yet eerie, as though it belonged to a dream or a half-remembered nightmare. "This is my kingdom," Kale said quietly, almost to himself. "And soon, it will test you." Leora's eyes followed the path of his gaze. "Test me? How?" He turned to her, his expression unreadable. "The court is not kind to outsiders, especially humans. Some will envy you, others will fear you, and a few will try to destroy you." She swallowed, feeling both fear and a thrill of excitement. "Then I will face them," she said, her hands tightening at her sides. "I will not be broken." Kale's lips curved slightly, but there was no warmth in the smile. "We shall see," he said. "I did not bring you here to simply survive, Leora. I brought you here to choose, and to endure." Their first meeting with the court came sooner than she expected. Nobles and advisors gathered in a grand hall, where the air was thick with tension. Everyone turned to look at her as Kale entered, his presence commanding the room. Leora felt their eyes like knives on her skin, curious, cautious, and sometimes hostile. A tall woman with sharp features and a crown-like tiara stepped forward. "The human who freed the Alpha King," she said, her voice cool and measured. "Do you know the weight of the gift you claim?" I only wanted to help," Leora replied, her voice steady despite the fear curling in her chest. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. "Help? Some call it bravery. Others call it foolishness. Time will tell which you are." Kale's eyes glimmered with warning, and Leora felt a chill. "Judge her not by fear, Norwin," he said, his voice cold but calm. "She acted with courage where others would falter." The woman, Norwin as Kale had named her, inclined her head slightly, but the tension did not leave her expression. Leora could sense that her position in this court would be precarious. She would have to navigate not just danger, but politics, suspicion, and perhaps betrayal. Days passed, and each day Leora felt herself tested. Some courtiers whispered behind her back, questioning her motives, her strength, even her worthiness to be near Kale. Others watched her in silence, as if measuring her resolve. Through it, all Kale remained a constant presence, sometimes distant and commanding, other times a quiet anchor, a reminder that she was not alone. One evening, as the pale moonlight filled the castle gardens, Kale and Leora walked along a path lined with frost-kissed roses. The night was silent except for the crunch of snow beneath their feet. "You wonder about the wolf I was," Kale said, breaking the stillness. "You see me as a man now, but the beast within, it has no mercy. It has instincts older than you can imagine, and power that can destroy without thought." "I am not afraid," Leora said softly, though her fingers unconsciously brushed the hilt of her knife. "And I want to understand you. The wolf, the king. All of it." Kale stopped and turned to her, his golden eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Few dare to walk this path. Few dare to look at the darkness in me and still reach out. You are different. But know this, to love me is to risk everything. My curse touches those who come close. It can wound, it can destroy, even unintentionally." Leora's chest tightened. "Then I will take that risk," she said. "If I am to be near you, I will accept all of it, the light, the shadow, and the pain." For a moment, Kale's expression softened. A faint smile tugged at his lips, and for the first time, she saw not the Alpha King, but the wolf who had been trapped, wounded, and alone. "Perhaps," he said, "there is hope for both of us yet." Their quiet moment was shattered by a sudden, chilling presence. From the shadows of the garden, a figure emerged, barely visible, yet unmistakable. A spectral vision, pale and ethereal, shaped like a woman. Her gaze was fixed on Kale, but it carried the weight of accusation and sorrow. Cale's jaw tightened. "She is here," he said, his voice low. "A reminder of what I have lost and what may yet be taken." Leora felt a shiver run down her spine. "Who is she?" she asked. "The past," Cale said, his tone grim. "She is the ghost of what I once loved, and of the curse that still lingers. You must not falter. She will test your resolve. She will tempt doubt. She will make you question why you are here." Leora took a deep breath. "I will not leave. I will stand by you, no matter what comes." Kyle's golden eyes softened, but only briefly. "Then you must prepare. For in this kingdom, every ally can be an enemy, and every shadow may conceal a threat. And the ghost of the past, she does not forgive easily." The figure of the ghost flickered and vanished into the night, leaving only a whisper on the wind that seemed to say, "Not all chains are silver. Some are of the heart." Leora looked up at Cale, determination blazing in her eyes. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Kyle studied her, his gaze unreadable. "You have chosen your path. But know this, human. Once you enter the Court of Shadows, there is no turning back. You will be tested beyond anything you imagine, and you will discover the strength and fear that lies within yourself." As they walked back toward the castle, the wind whispered through the frost-laden trees. Somewhere deep within the walls, eyes watched them, and whispers spread among those who feared and envied the human who had dared to free the Alpha King. Leora felt the weight of the coming days. There would be trials, doubt, and perhaps danger beyond imagining. But she also felt something she had never known. A connection, a spark, a promise of something greater than herself. And Cale remained both her protector and her mystery, the wolf and the king, the curse and the hope. She could not yet know the full scope of the trials awaiting her, but one thing was certain. Her life, her heart, and perhaps her destiny had become entwined with the Alpha King of the Shadowed Kingdom. The castle slept in a heavy silence, but Leora could not find rest. Her mind raced with thoughts of Cale, the spectral figure in the gardens and the strange shimmering chains that had bound him. She had freed him from physical imprisonment, but now it was clear that some darkness remained, deeper, older, and more dangerous than she had imagined. Kyle himself moved through the castle like a shadow. At times he was silent and distant, his golden eyes reflecting something inhuman, a reminder of the wolf that still lived inside him. At other times he was warm, almost tender, especially when he lingered near her in quiet moments, speaking softly about the court, the kingdom, and the weight he bore as its ruler. One evening, as the pale moonlight spilled across the snow-covered towers, Leora heard a low growl echoing through the halls. It was not the wind. It was Cale. She followed the sound, heart pounding, and found him in the high tower, crouched by a window. His hands trembled and silver fur flickered across his arms and neck. He was shifting, struggling to contain the wolf within. "Cale," she whispered, stepping closer. His eyes met hers, golden and wild, flickering with something feral. "The curse. It wakes," he said. "I cannot control it at all times. The chains are gone, but their magic lingers in my blood, and it calls to me, the wolf within, the beast I once was." Leora's hands instinctively reached toward him, trembling, yet firm. "Then let me help. Let me be here with you." He shook his head slightly, fear and pride battling in his expression. "It is not safe. I cannot guarantee your safety. When the wolf takes over, I am not responsible for what I do. I trust you," she said quietly, stepping closer. "I trust both you and the wolf. You are not alone." For a moment, he seemed torn between instinct and reason. Then slowly he allowed her hand to brush against his arm. The moment their skin touched, the wolf inside him shivered as if sensing her presence. Cale closed his eyes, drawing a deep, shuddering breath. "You have a strange power over me, human," he said after a long silence. "Even when I am lost to the wolf, you anchor me. But this curse, it is not something that can be broken by trust alone." Leora's eyes burned with determination. "Then we will find another way. Whatever it takes, we will face it together." The next days were a trial. Cale's wolf side emerged at odd moments, sometimes in dreams, sometimes in moments of anger or fear. The shifts were violent and disorienting, leaving him exhausted, and Leora was the only one who could calm him afterward. She learned to read the subtle signs, the twitch of an ear, the glint in his eyes, the way his muscles tensed. She learned to speak softly, to touch gently, to reach the man beneath the beast. One night, Kale led her to the edge of the forest beyond the castle walls, where ancient trees rose like guardians of a forgotten world. The ground was littered with silver leaves fallen centuries ago, and the air smelled of iron and frost. Here he told her the full story of the curse. "It began long before me," he said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "My ancestors feared the power within our blood. They bound it with magic, silver chains, and spells. The curse was meant to protect, but it became a prison not just for me, but for those who might love me. Any who grow close risk pain, suffering, or worse." Leora listened, her heart tightening. "And you have suffered alone for how long?" Kale looked at her, golden eyes reflecting both pride and pain. "Centuries in some ways. Time moves differently for me. The wolf within does not forget, and it does not forgive. I have learned to isolate myself, to fear connection. Until you, I will not leave," she said firmly. "I will not fear what is inside you. I only ask that you let me stand beside you." He studied her for a long time, the wolf's presence stirring beneath the surface, restless and dangerous. "You may not understand what that means," he said. "To be near me is to feel both the warmth of life and the bite of death. You may be hurt even if I do not wish it." "I understand," Leora replied. "But I choose this." Kyle exhaled slowly, as if releasing some internal battle. Then, without warning, the shadows around them deepened. A wind unlike any natural breeze swept through the trees, carrying whispers that twisted and echoed. Leora clutched Kale's arm. "The curse reacts to those who challenge it," he said. "It senses your presence, your courage. It tests me, and tests you." From the shadows, a dark figure emerged, cloaked in robes that seemed woven from midnight itself. Its face was hidden, but the aura was unmistakable. A being of power older than the castle, older than the kingdom. "You seek to break what was bound for a reason," the figure said, voice like ice sliding across stone. "The Alpha King cannot be free, and those who touch him will share in his fate." Kale stepped in front of Leora, his presence commanding, his wolf stirring. "You are too late," he said. "She is not afraid, and we will not falter." The figure moved closer, its shadow stretching across the snow like living fingers. Leora's heart raced, but she did not step back. "Then we face it," she said. "Together." Kale's wolf side erupted, a flash of silver fur and golden eyes, and the air around them seemed to hum with raw power. The figure recoiled slightly, then raised a hand, and dark energy crackled like lightning. Leora's voice rang out, steady and clear. "Cal, remember who you are. Not the wolf alone, but the king. The man who walks beside me." For a moment the wolf paused, as if hearing her call. Kale's human form wavered, struggling to regain control. Then slowly he drew a deep, shuddering breath, and the transformation stabilized. The shadows around the figure pulsed but did not move closer. "You see?" Kyle said, breathing heavily. "It is not only my strength that matters. It is our bond and our trust. You anchor me, human, when even the curse itself cannot." Leora's hand remained in his, her grip firm and unwavering. "Then let us find a way to break it completely," she said. "We cannot let fear rule us." The dark figure vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving only whispers in the wind and a lingering chill. Kyle turned to her, exhaustion etched into his features. "You are braver than most who have crossed my path. And yet, this is only the beginning. The chains were broken, yes, but the curse has other ways to test us. It will not rest, and neither will those who created it." Leora nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "Then we prepare. Whatever comes, we face it together." That night, in the quiet of the castle, Kale lay awake while Leora watched him. He was both man and wolf, king and beast, and yet somehow human in ways he rarely allowed. She could see the struggle in him, the desire to protect and the fear of losing control. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy, that each day would bring trials, both physical and emotional. But for the first time, she felt a sense of purpose. She was not a bystander in this tale of shadows and curses. She was part of it, bound to Kale not by chains but by trust, courage, and perhaps something deeper, something unspoken yet powerful. The wind moaned through the castle towers, carrying the faint shimmer of magic from the broken chains. Somewhere in the darkness the curse stirred, sensing them, testing them, whispering of trials yet to come. And Leora, standing beside the Alpha King of the Shadowed Kingdom, knew that no matter what lay ahead, she would not falter. The night air in the cursed forest was thick with magic, dense and heavy, like the weight of centuries pressing down on them. Leora and Kael walked in silence, the snow crunching under their boots, each step a careful negotiation with the shadows that seemed to twist and watch. The altar lay ahead, half buried in ice and frost, its black stone etched with runes that pulsed faintly with silver light. Kael's golden eyes scanned the surroundings constantly, muscles tense. Even in human form, he carried the presence of a predator, alert to the slightest shift in the wind or movement among the trees. Leora could feel the pulse of his power, raw and electric, and the wolf within him stirred with restless energy. "This place is older than even my kingdom," Kyle said softly. "It is a place of judgment, of binding, of trials. Those who come here face the weight of all the curses tied to our bloodline. Few survive, fewer still leave unbroken. I have survived worse than fear," Leora said firmly, "and I will not leave your side." Kael's eyes softened briefly. "Your courage is remarkable, human. But courage alone is not enough. You must understand the darkness you face. This altar, it was the origin of the chains. The magic here is not just binding, it is sentient. It tests the heart, the soul, and the bond between those who touch it." The snow swirled as they approached the altar, and the air grew colder, sharper. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting into shapes that seemed almost human. The runes on the stone pulsed faster, responding to Kael's presence, to the energy that Leora carried with her. Her determination, her trust, her courage. Before they could step closer, a figure emerged from the shadows, tall, cloaked in robes that seemed woven from darkness itself. Her face was hidden beneath a hood, but the aura she radiated was undeniable. Power older than kingdoms, older than kings, older than the curse itself. "You have come," the sorceress said, her voice like ice brushing stone. "You dare to challenge what has been bound for centuries. The Alpha King cannot be freed, and the human who touches him shall suffer in his stead." Kael stepped in front of Leora, his presence filling the clearing. "You have no power over us," he said, though his voice carried the tension of the wolf within him, a quiet growl that made the air vibrate. The sorceress raised a hand, and shadows sprang to life, twisting and writhing like living things. The snow around them darkened as though absorbing the light. Leora felt her heart hammering in her chest, but she did not step back. "Kael," she whispered, "remember yourself. Remember the man, not just the wolf." He inhaled sharply, the wolf within surging, powerful and dangerous. Yet Leora's hand on his arm, her touch steady and grounding, reached him through the chaos. Slowly he drew himself back from the edge, regaining control, the wolf retreating beneath his human form. "Your power will not break us," Leora said, her voice ringing clear against the whispering shadows. "We are together. You cannot touch what we have built between us." The sorceress laughed, a sound that echoed through the trees and made the snow shiver. "Ah, young human," she said, "you do not understand. Bonds are fragile. Love can be strength, and also a weakness. To face him is to face yourself, and many cannot endure it." Kael's golden eyes burned with a light that seemed to illuminate the darkness. "I am not afraid of the past. I am not afraid of my curse, and I am not afraid of you." The sorceress moved closer, her shadows reaching toward them like fingers of smoke. "Then let us see if your bond can withstand the trial." The air crackled as the magic of the altar awakened. Silver light shot from the runes, wrapping around Kael, testing him, probing the edges of his control. His muscles tensed, the wolf threatening to emerge with a ferocity that could destroy everything around him. Leora stepped forward, unwavering. "Kael, look at me. You are stronger than this. You are not your curse. You are not your chains. You are the man I trust, the man I choose." Her words were like fire and warmth against the cold magic. Kael's golden eyes locked on hers, and for a moment the wolf recoiled, confused, subdued by something deeper than instinct. Slowly he drew a breath, his form steadying, the silver light of the altar dimming as his control returned. The sorceress hissed, a sound like frost cracking. "This is impossible. No human has ever done this. No bond has ever subdued the Alpha King at the altar." Kael took a step forward, strength flowing through him. "We are not so easily defeated." His voice carried power, authority, and something tender. "You cannot dictate who we are or what we can overcome. The chains are broken. The curse may test us, but it will not define us. The sorceress's shadow swirled violently, but Leora did not retreat. She held Kale's hand tightly, her presence steady, grounding, unwavering. "We face it together," she said simply. "Whatever comes, we are stronger together." A moment of silence followed, broken only by the whispering wind. Then slowly, the sorceress stepped back, her power retreating like a tide from the shore. "Perhaps you have strength that surpasses even my expectation," she said, her voice bitter but tinged with respect. "But do not think the world will forgive what you challenge here. The curse is ancient. It will not vanish entirely." Kale's eyes softened as he looked at Leora. "The chains are gone," he said quietly. "The curse. We have survived its first trial together, and in doing so we have begun to reclaim what was lost." Leora felt a shiver of relief, but also a thrill. For the first time, she saw the possibility of victory, of freedom, of a life where Kale could be both wolf and king, but still human, still capable of love and trust. They walked back toward the castle slowly, the forest around them still shimmering with faint magic, a reminder of the power they had faced and survived. Kale remained alert, but his steps were less rigid, his posture less tense. The wolf had receded, calmed by her presence and the bond they shared. In the quiet moments, as they moved through the snow and shadow, Kyle spoke softly of the burdens he had carried, of the isolation, the pain, and the responsibility that weighed upon him. Leora listened, her heart aching for the man behind the king, for the wolf who had suffered in chains for centuries. "You carry so much alone," she said. "You do not have to. I am here." Kale's gaze met hers, and for a long moment there was no wolf, no magic, no shadows, only the man who had once been trapped and the human who had freed him. "You are braver than any I have known," he said. "And perhaps you are my redemption." The castle walls rose ahead, dark and silent under the starlight. But Leora knew the trials were not over. The sorceress's words lingered, and the curse, though subdued, still whispered in the corners of Kyle's mind, in the shadows of the forest, in the pulse of the silver chains that had once bound him. Yet for the first time she felt hope. Not the fragile hope of a wanderer in the forest, but the hope of two souls intertwined, standing together against darkness, against curse, against fate itself. Kale reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You must know," he said softly, "that what lies ahead will test us more than ever. But if we survive, Leora, if we endure, we may discover something even stronger than freedom. We may discover what it means to be truly bound, not by chains, but by choice, by trust, by love." Leora's heart swelled with a mix of fear and longing. "Then I choose you," she whispered. "All of you, wolf, king, curse, and all." Kale's lips curved in a faint, rare smile. "Then we face the final trials together," he said. "And perhaps, in the end, we will both be free." The wind carried the faint shimmer of magic through the towers, a reminder that the curse had not vanished entirely. Somewhere, in the shadows of the forest, eyes watched, waiting, whispering of trials yet to come. But Leora and Kale walked forward, hand in hand, hearts steady, spirits intertwined, ready to meet whatever darkness awaited them. The night was alive with tension, the sky above Kale's kingdom dark and full of swirling clouds. Lightning of pale silver flashed across the mountains, illuminating the towers of the castle and the frozen courtyard where Kale and Leora prepared for the final confrontation. The air hummed with magic, alive with the pulse of an ancient curse, the chains of Kale's past and the weight of centuries pressing down on them. Kale stood at the center of the courtyard, half-shifted, his golden eyes burning with raw power. His silver fur shimmered in the moonlight, and every muscle in his body was taut, ready to unleash the wolf that had been restrained for so long. Yet Leora stood beside him, unwavering, her hand firmly clasped in his. Her courage and determination radiated like a light against the darkness that threatened to consume them. "This is it," Kale said, his voice a low growl that trembled with both power and fear. "If I lose control tonight, if the wolf breaks free, nothing will remain but destruction. I cannot promise you safety, Leora." "I do not need promises," Leora replied. Her eyes met his, fierce and steady. "I choose you, and a man, wolf, and king. Whatever comes, I am with you. We are stronger together." Kyle's gaze softened, and for a fleeting moment the wolf receded, replaced by the man who had been wounded, lonely, and bound for so long. He drew a deep breath, letting her words anchor him. "Then we face this together," he said, voice steady, yet tinged with the weight of everything they had endured. From the shadows, the sorceress appeared, her robes flowing like black water. Her presence alone seemed to darken the night. "You think you can challenge what has endured for centuries?" she hissed. "The Alpha King cannot be free, and the one who touches him will fall with him." Kale took a step forward, his wolf instinct flashing at the corner of his mind. The air vibrated with his energy, the silver light in the snow around him pulsing like a heartbeat. "You underestimate the strength of choice, the power of trust," he said. "I will not be bound any longer, and she will not be destroyed because of me." Leora stepped beside him, her stance firm. "We have faced the chains. We have faced fear, and we will face you. Together." The sorceress's shadows surged, whipping around them, trying to choke the light and courage from the pair. The runes of the cursed altar pulsed violently, the silver glow igniting into blinding streaks of energy. Kale roared, a sound that was both wolf and man, power and anguish blending into one. Leora pressed closer, speaking with clarity and strength. "Kale, remember yourself. You are not the curse. You are the Alpha King. You are the man I love, the one I trust. Take back what is yours." For a moment the wolf raged, silver fur bristling, teeth bared, claws striking the frozen ground. Yet her voice, her unwavering presence reached him, cutting through the shadows. Slowly, painfully, Kale's human side regained control. The wolf growled, then receded, curling back into the man who was stronger not despite the curse, but because he had someone who chose him. The sorceress recoiled, her power faltering as Kale's aura expanded, golden light mingling with the silver of the altar. "Impossible," she whispered, the shadows around her twisting and cracking. "No human, no bond can withstand this!" Kale's golden eyes blazed. "It is not impossible," he said. "It is choice, trust, and courage. Leora, speak with me. Be my anchor." Leora lifted her hand, placing it firmly on his chest. "I am here. I will not leave. I will face everything with you." The silver chains that had once bound him shimmered, now broken completely, disintegrating into sparks of light that scattered into the night. The shadows shrieked, twisting violently as the curse fought its last struggle, but Kale's power, combined with Leora's unwavering courage, held it at bay. A final surge of magic burst from the altar, striking Kale. The wolf tried to break free one last time, a wild feral snarl echoing across the mountains. Leora's grip on him tightened, her presence solid and unyielding. "Kale, fight it." "You are not alone." He inhaled deeply, the tension of centuries coiling within him. Then, with a roar that shook the frozen stones of the courtyard, he fully embraced himself, wolf, king, and man, and the curse shattered. Light exploded outward, a brilliant silver-gold radiance that cut through the shadows and the sorceress's magic. When the light faded, Kale stood fully human, his fur gone, golden eyes glowing softly with life, no longer wild or uncontrolled. Leora breathed deeply, relief washing over her. The sorceress was gone, her dark power banished with the breaking of the curse. The altar lay cracked, its runes dim and powerless. Kale turned to Leora, exhaustion etched into his features, yet his eyes were filled with something softer, warmer. "It is over," he said quietly. "The chains are gone. The curse is broken. Because of you." Leora smiled, her hand brushing his cheek. "No, because of us. We faced it together." He took her hands in his, holding them as if she were the most precious thing in the world, and perhaps she was. "You chose me," he said, voice low and filled with awe. "Even when I was wolf, even when the curse raged, you chose me." I cannot describe what that means." "You don't need to describe it," Leora said softly. "We live it. We survived it, and now we are free." Kale's expression softened further, a rare smile touching his lips. He looked around the courtyard, the kingdom beneath the pale moonlight, and for the first time he seemed fully at peace. The centuries of solitude, the pain of the curse, the isolation, all of it had been washed away, replaced by something new, something stronger. Then he knelt before her, bowing not as king to a subject, but as man to the one who had saved him in ways no chain or curse ever could. "Leora," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, "will you be my queen, not just of this kingdom, but of my life, my heart?" Leora's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded, a laugh escaping her lips, light and joyful. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Kale, I will be your queen." The night seemed to hold its breath as he rose, lifting her into his arms. For the first time, the kingdom felt alive with warmth rather than shadow, with hope rather than fear. The snow shimmered under the pale moonlight, reflecting the bond that had endured every test, every trial, every shadow. The court, once distant and suspicious, began to gather, drawn by the pulse of magic and the breaking of the curse. Nobles, advisors, and guardians watched as Kale and Leora stood together. No chains, no curses, only trust, courage, and love binding them. The whispers of fear had been replaced by awe and respect. Kale looked down at her, his golden eyes soft and full of life. "You are my anchor, Leora, my queen, my choice, and you are my strength," she replied. "My king, my protector, my heart." For the first time in centuries, Kale allowed himself to truly smile, not as a wolf, not as a king bound by chains, but as the man he had always been beneath it all. The kingdom, the shadows, the curse, all had been conquered by something greater than magic: trust, courage, and the bond of two hearts that chose each other willingly. As they walked through the castle gates, hand in hand, the moonlight reflecting on the silver towers, the air felt lighter, freer. The snow glimmered with the promise of new beginnings, and the kingdom itself seemed to breathe, as if celebrating the redemption of its alpha king and the rise of its queen. In the quiet of their chambers, Kale finally allowed himself to rest, and Leora beside him. A sense of peace settled over them. The trials, the curses, the shadows, all had tested them, pushed them, and yet they had endured together. Kale brushed a strand of hair from her face, golden eyes soft and warm. "The kingdom is ours now," he said. "But more importantly, so is our future." Leora smiled, resting her head against his chest. "Then let us build it together. No chains, no curses, only trust and courage." Kyle held her close, feeling for the first time that the weight of centuries had lifted. The wolf was gone, the curse shattered, and the kingdom, once shadowed and cold, now stood as a realm of light and hope. Together, they had faced darkness, survived fear, and embraced the power of choice, trust and love, and together they would reign, not as king and queen of a shadowed kingdom, but as alpha king and alpha queen, united in heart, mind, and soul.